Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us. And Tom, I'll start with you. This started with your vision years ago after the Red Sox won a pair of World Series titles and a pair of visits to the Walter Reed Medical Center. Talk about that.
I was privileged to be able to go to the Walter Reed Hospital with the Red Sox after we won the World Series. And the doctor told me that over 40% of the warriors coming back from conflicts in Afghanistan and Iraq were part of what I now understand to be post-traumatic stress. And so I flew back on the plane and said, what can I do as a citizen to do something, even if it's a small drop in the bucket, to try to help this population that deserves so much support. I think this program really is a way to deal with something, and something I'm very proud of because it's effective.
General Hammond, you commanded troops in Iraq and Afghanistan. Talk about how those complex battlefields affected some of those men and women.
I know one day we had a particularly terrible day. Suicide bomber drove into the side of an armored bus, and we lost 17 people in one explosion. We don't leave fallen brothers behind. So the first mission is to reclaim the remains, secure the site, and get rid of the bus and all that stuff. Young kids, they're 18, 19, 20 years old, had to go recover those remains. And 18 bodies, 3 kids, a couple dogs, all incinerated in a big mess. Imagine the mental trauma that you carry away from that for the rest of your life.
Personally, how did it affect you?
I didn't know I needed help, and I had to get some help back in 2007 or 2006. I really needed it in 2003. My wife's a nurse, and she kept saying, you know, you probably need to get help. And I just kept laughing and making up reasons. So it took a while, and it took a couple things to come up in my life that just said, okay, I can't keep doing this. And I got the help, things were fine, and to the point where, you know, I went back. And I was able to function fully well back. And that's the message we try and pass on to people.
And Ryan, you're a Medal of Honor recipient. You've served alongside some very tough men and women, but recently at a home-based fundraising gala, you talked about the stigma associated with these wounds. Let's listen.
For them to say, hey man, you know, I'm going and getting some help, and I can almost hear shame or disappointment in their own voice, and it always catches me off guard because I just don't understand it. They're brothers. We're brothers. I love them. You know, you twist an ankle, you break a leg, you're going to go do physical therapy. Why is that any different if you get a little banged up in your squash? You know, I think one of the challenges is we come up trying to think that we're so, you know, strong for whatever that definition means to us. We think that somehow these invisible wounds don't have the same merit as the physical ones. And it's just unfortunate that we think that, because it's completely wrong. You know, and it's disappointing when, I guess we suffer longer than we need to. It's just this invisible barrier that keeps us from being healthy and being the people that we want to be to our families and society.
And Ryan, you've overcome both physical and invisible wounds. What would you say to a young veteran and give him advice, or he or she advice, for a successful transition?
I think just if something feels off, just do something about it, right? You've earned the right to have this healthy, happy life. Don't suffer if you don't need to. You wouldn't for physical reasons. Why should you do it for invisible wounds?
Tom, your father served in World War II as part of the D-Day invasion. Do you think that he was affected in some way, shape, or form?
We'd be studying the war at school, and I'd ask my father. I knew he'd served, but he never really wanted to talk about it. And I found out that he was a highly decorated colonel in the OSS, which was a precursor to the CIA. And I found out that his assignment was to send fighter pilots to Germany during the war, knowing that if he was in a group of 20 to 25 airmen, that at least half of the pilots wouldn't return. So you could imagine the emotional toll that would take. I now think that he was so traumatized by this assignment that he never ever wanted to talk about it.
What do you think he would say if he saw the new National Center of Excellence that you helped create?
Well, I think that he'd be proud, because I keep remembering what Dustin Pedroia said, is that these soldiers have served, it's now our time to serve. So I think he'd be very proud that something has been created to deal with this.